Now that you have your blocks created, we want to go and place those around our drawing. We're going to be placing in a ceiling fan in our living room, some outlets and switches around here as well. A light fixture that has a switch inside of our closet. We're going to place our bathtub, our toilet, and our lavatory into our bathroom, as well as an outside light on the outside of our entryway. We don't want to do any of that in our paper space, so we want to go back to our views and switch to our model. We also need to create two new layers for this. One for our electrical outlets and wires, and one for our plumbing fixtures. Go ahead and go to your Layers tab and create a brand new layer. Call this one with caps lock on, ELEC, for our electrical layer. We'll make that green, as well as a new layer called PFix for plumbing fixtures, and we'll make that green as well. Switch to your electrical layer, and now we'll talk about inserting blocks. To insert blocks in AutoCAD Web, you go to the Blocks tab, and you want to choose Browse for Blocks. If you currently cannot see this, you're going to have to change the zoom of your internet browser. Possibly go to the three dots and change your zoom, maybe zoom out and you can see more, or zoom in if you didn't need to zoom back out. We will choose Browse for Blocks, and it will go to the folder that our drawing is saved in. The first one we're going to place in is our ceiling fan. So click on Ceiling Fan and Insert. And we can place that drawing about center in our room. Again, to make it perfectly center, what we do is we draw a line diagonally across a rectangle, and we can then highlight and move our ceiling fan to that midpoint. Now you'll notice when we highlight the ceiling fan, because we drew it at the origin, that is where our grip point goes. So you can select that and just move it to the midpoint of the line. We want to place in a switch over here and then some wiring so we can actually wire up our fan. So we will browse for another block and we will find our switch. Because we placed our switch origin at the bottom of our leg, we can just go place it on the midpoint of this wall, and it centers it left and right on this segment. To place in a wire, I'm going to want to move my living and sleeping room, the title, down some. But to place in a wire, we're going to be using a spline. Wires are always drawn curved. You'll notice that these two new blocks were placed in the electrical layer because we had the electrical layer active. We also want to place in our spline on the electrical layer, so I can turn that layer on and off and everything appears or disappears appropriately. Click on the draw panel, click on the spline tool. We're going to start our spline starting at the top of our switch. To make it come out of our switch straight, we want to come up with our polar tracking just a little bit and click once, straight up a little bit more, click twice, and now we're going to swoop our line over to our fixture, and I'll terminate it at the center of my fan. To stop the spline command, do not hit escape, but instead hit enter. And now we'll trim off that little piece that sticks inside. Now this line here is not dashed. It is a solid continuous line. What we want to do is change the line type from by layer to a center line type. Normally we would choose a Phantom or a Phantom 2, but AutoCAD Web doesn't provide that for us. So center line type, and again, we'll change its line type scale to look appropriate for our model view. So let's go ahead and change it to 48. Oh, that is too much. Let's go to 12. There we go. and we can get a decent looking spline. Now our ceiling fan is going to have two switches, one of them for the light and one of them for the fan. You can go to your blocks tab and drag a new switch in by clicking and dragging this, and we can just place it on this wall near our other switch. Or you could take a switch and copy within the drawing and just copy it over some. Go ahead and do both. Drag a switch in and copy a switch over. We'll use this second switch here for our outside light, and we'll use this third one here for our fan. Again, draw a spline starting on the end point, going straight up again. We'll curve it on over, and we'll terminate at the center of our fan. Again, remember to hit enter, not escape, and trim off that little piece. We can select our wires, change their properties to be center line type, and a line type scale of 12 right now. Let's go back to our blocks, and we'll place in a new block by browsing for blocks of a light fixture, and we'll put in our outside light. Now it's currently trying to place it from the center because that is where our base point was. We can also just move this object from the end point of any of our extensions, and we'll go to the midpoint of this wall. For the wire connecting the left switch to the outside, we want to start again by going up and up again, and we'll just gently swoop this one out of our doorway into the center of our fixture. Each time trimming and changing the line type and line type scale. Center line type, scale of 12. All right, now we want to place in our outlets. Let's go ahead and go to our blocks, browse for blocks. We'll place in our outlet. Now our outlet comes in not rotated correctly. Go ahead and place it by the wall in between our first two windows. We can simply highlight and rotate by any one of our points, but we want to rotate it 90 degrees pointing straight up. And we're going to center it on this wall. If I move from this endpoint to the midpoint, because my grip point is on the right segment, it is not centered on this wall. I have a 2-inch spacing between my legs, so if I want to center it, I need to move it over to the right by 1 inch. So I'll just move randomly from anywhere to the right, 1, enter. Instead of me bringing a new block in, rotating it, moving it down, moving it over, since I know that these two walls here are the same size, I'm just going to copy this block from the end point of this wall over to the end point of that wall. Again, you can either drag in new blocks, you can copy blocks within the drawing. You can do quite a few things, but whatever's quickest is going to be most appropriate. Place in another block by dragging one in or copying it, and we're going to center it on this wall. So I will now rotate this one by 180 degrees, place the grip point on the midpoint of the wall, and for this one I'll have to move it up 1 inch. Bring in two new blocks, one for our left wall, one for our top wall of this living/sleeping room. For the one on the left, we'll just place it a little bit above this window. And for the one up above, we're going to need to rotate it, this time -90 degrees. And we'll place it just near center of this wall, maybe a little bit to the left of it. That concludes the switches and outlets in our living and sleeping room. Right? We'll do the bath and closet in the next video.